Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Manoj Markosik. Welcome you all to my channel, Learning with KB Teacher. Dear students, today I'm bringing you to one of the most requested video, the complete important questions and answers from class 12th English Flamingo book. In this video, my dear students, you will get exam-oriented, crisp, and clear answers for every important chapter designed to help you score high in your board examination. So sit back with your notebook, stay focused, and let us begin our complete Flamingo important question answers. So let us start from our first chapter, which is The Last Lesson, written by Alphonse Daudet. Here on your screen is the first question, my dear students. What tempted friends to stay away from school? Here the question is being asked, what were the things which was tempting friends to stay away from school? Okay, as you all know, French was fearful to go to school. Why? Just because MML has said that he would question on participle and he didn't learn. That is why French was tempted by the warm, bright weather, the sound of the words chipping, the sight of Persian soldiers drilling, and his fear of being scolded by M. Hamel for not knowing his participles were the things which were tempting him to stay away from school. I hope you understand. Question number second. Why is the order from Berlin called a thunderclap by French? Okay, so the answer is very simple. The words that shocked him were the announcement that only German would be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. It was a thunderclap because the news was sudden, unexpected, and marked the devastating immediate loss of their language and identity. Question third. Who did M. Hamel blame for the neglect of learning? In the middle of the chapter, uh, there came some lines in which Mr. M. Hamel was blaming not only to the parents but also himself. So the answer is, my dear students, he blamed the parents for preferring their children to work on the farm or mills. He blamed the students for procrastinating, and he blames himself for sending them to water his garden or giving them unnecessary holidays. This is the very simple answer for the question, and this is a kind of important question also. Okay, question 4. What shows M. Hamel's love for the French language? Okay, here being asked, my dear students, how can you say that Mr. M. Hamel love French language? You see, my dear students, his love is shown by his emotional speech, where he called French the most beautiful, the clearest, and the most logical language in the world, and his fervent plea to the villagers to guard it among us and never forget it, as it was the key to their freedom. This shows that Mr. M. Hamel loved his own language, which was French. Question 5. What words did M. Hamel write on the blackboard? In the ending of chapter, when the chapter was complete, reading and writing work has been completed, Mr. M. Hamel stood and summoned his all strength, and he wrote, Vive la France, which means long live French, in large letters. It was his final powerful and patriotic declaration of hope for his country. The next question. What made M. Hamel cry towards the end? The answer is, he was overcome by the deep sorrow of parting after 40 years, as he had been working as a French teacher for 40 years there. He did work with dedication, coupled with the patriotic grief over the sudden unjust loss of his language and school to the Persia. These were the things which made M. Hamel cry towards the end. Okay, here is being asked, how did Mr. M. Hamel says farewell? Okay, my dear students, for bidding farewell, he tried to speak. He wanted to speak something. What emotion choked him? He then picked up a piece of chalk and with all his strength wrote the large words "Why la French" on the blackboard before making a silent gesture with his hand. He said, "School is dismissed. You may go now." And the last question from the last lesson: is French trying to equate himself with the pigeons? What do you think? Okay, let me answer. Yes, when he heard the pigeons go, he thought, will they make them sing in German? Even the pigeons? This thought equates the natural sound of the words with their native language, highlighting the futility and cruelty of trying to force a foreign language on anyway. Let us discuss important questions from Lost Spring. Why Anish Young? Without delay, let me come to the first question. And the question is, to which country did Sahib's parents originally belong? Why did they come to India? So the answer is simple enough. The parents of Sahibs belong to Dhaka, Bangladesh. They came to India because their homes and fields were swept away by the storms, leaving them without any means of survival. In search of food and better life, they came to India and settled in Simapuri. Question second, what does the reference to chappals tells us? Okay, you remember the incident when the poet asked one of them, why didn't he wear chappals? What it mean was, my dear students, it highlights their abject poverty. The lack of footwear is an ongoing condition, not merely a tradition, confirming their struggle for even the most basic necessity, as they were deprived with the basic necessities. Question third, describe the irony in Sahib's name. Okay, so as you know, the name of Sahib represent to the Lord of Universe. His full name is Sahib Alam, which means Lord of the Universe. And you can see the Lord of Universe wandering in the streets and collecting garbage. The bitter irony is that he is a poor, barefoot ragpicker, one of the most marginalized and powerless children struggling for survival in the garbage dump. Okay, so my next question, in what sense is garbage gold to the rag pickers? How can you say that garbage for them who were settled there in Simapuri was not less than gold for them? The answer is simple. Garbage is gold because it is their only means of livelihood. It provides them with food, shelter, and a daily wage from selling scraps. For the children, it is also wrapped in wonder because sometimes they find some coins like coins of 1 rupees, 2 rupees, 5 rupees, or sometime more money. That is why you can say the garbage was no less than gold for them. Question number 4, what did garbage means to the children and what it meant for their parents? Okay, so here the answer is simple. To the children, it was a source of wonder and possibility because sometimes they found money and something which was attractive to them. What to the parents? It was a means of survival because it was their daily bread. Question 5. What job did Sahib take up? Was he happy? Okay, so the answer is he took a job at a tea stall for rupees 800 and all his meals. No. The answer, was he happy? Then you can say no, he was not happy. As a rug picker, he was his master. He was free to do whatever pleased him. He can go, he could go, actually, wherever he wanted. But now, he's not his master anymore. He had lost his carefree look and his status as his own master. If it is asked, dear students, give a brief account of the life and activities of the people like Saibi Alam settled in Simapuri. Then the answer will be they are refugees, as you know, that they had come from Bangladesh earlier in 1971. They used to live in structures of mud with the tin and tarpaulin roofs, leaking sewage, drainage, or running water. Their sole occupation is rug picking for bare survival, and they prioritize food over identity. The next question is why could the Bengal maker not organize themselves into a cooperative? This question is being asked from the story of Mukesh, as the family of Mukesh were Bengal makers. It is not like that they never tried to organize themselves into cooperative, but whenever they tried, they were caught in a actually the reason was they were caught in a vicious circle of poverty and exploitation. They feared the police, middlemen, sahukars, and politicians who would drag them to jail for organizing themselves into cooperative. For them, if they try to do that, if they try to organize them, which was seen as defying their authorities. Next question. Mention any two hazards of working in Bengal industries. Dear students, there are a numbers of health hazards of working in Bengal industries. Some of them are impaired vision or you can say blindness. The worker used to work in dark, high temperatured rooms near furnaces which damage their eyes. Lungs ailment. The worker used to inhale toxic dust. They inhale toxic dust and fumes from the furnaces leads to the poor health and disease like TB. Question 9. Lost Spring explain the grinding poverty and traditions that condemn thousands. Are you agree with it? Okay. So the answer is yes, we are agree. Because poverty forces them into dangerous labor for low wages, tradition condemns them when elders accepted Bengal making as a God given lineage, like you can say karma or destiny, resisting change and perpetuating their misery. Next question. The Bengal makers of Firozabad makes beautiful Bengals. What they live and died in Squala. Elaborate. So the answer is, my dear students, the Bengals they created symbolize Sohag, auspiciousness in marriage, and they bring joy for Indian women. Paradoxically, the makers themselves live in a filthy, dilapidated condition, endure dangerous work, and die in poverty, never sharing in the happiness their product creates. Let me come to the next chapter, which is The Water by Williams Douglas. And the first question is, why did William Douglas use the YMCA pool and not Yakima River? Dear students, in the very beginning, it is described in the beginning of the chapter that the Yakima River was treacherous. What YMCA pool was safe because YMCA pool was only 2 or 3 feet deep at the shallow end and 9 feet deep at the other end, the deepest end. And if it is asked from you that what is the full form of YMCA, then you can say the full form for YMCA is Young Men's Christian Association, I think. Okay, next question. How did the incident at a YMCA pool affected Douglas? So the incident which was taken place at a YMCA pool when one day Douglas was all alone and waiting someone to come so that he could practice swimming, and there came a muscular boy who lifted him and tossed him into the deepest end, and he was nearly died. So what impact did it leave on Douglas? So the answer is, it left him with a deep seated paralyzing fear of water, you can say hydrophobia, that ruined his ability to enjoy fishing, canoeing, and swimming trips for many years. Because whenever he tried, he faced that horrible fear of water in his mind. Question third, was Douglas keen to overcome his fear of water? So the answer is yes. Douglas was keen to overcome his fear of water. Why he was keen? Because the fear handicapped him and ruined his enjoyment of nature and water sports. He want to go to he want to go into the river and enjoy water activities. What the horrible fear of water chased him wherever he went. That is why he was determined to live a full life and confront the terror that had held him hostage. Question number 4, how did Douglas finally get rid of the fear? The answer is, he hired an instructor who systematically taught him to exhale and inhale and kicking when he's under the water. After this training, Douglas tasted while swimming alone in different waters like Lake Wentworth, continuously conquering the remaining fragments of fear or terror. Question 5, how did Douglas make sure that he had conquered the old terror? The answer is, he repeatedly tested himself by swimming solo across various lakes. When the terror returned, he would mock it and force himself to swim further, telling the fear, "Well, Mr. Terror, what do you think you can do to me?" until it vanished. Question 6, what did Douglas learn from his experience? The answer is, he learned that there is a terror only in the fear of death. We are, we all are fearful just because no one wants to die. So the statement, there is a terror only in the fear of death, is absolutely right. and that the will to live is very strong. He gained a profound understanding of deep relief that comes from overcoming a profound fear. Let us start the fourth chapter, which is the red trap. And the first question is, why did Peller think that the world was a red trap? As you know, that this story is of a poor bender, or you can say Peller, who used to roam around by selling red traps, and he was the one who was never welcomed by anyone at his home. That is why he started thinking these ill things about the people around him. And this is one of his weird thought, that he started thinking the world as a rat trap. And he was right too, because he believed that the world offered beds, the way a rat trap offered beds for the rats to be tempted, like cheese, pork, and chapati, sometimes some pieces of bread. In the same way, the red trap bird offer beds like riches, joy, food to lure people, and once they touch the bed, it would trap them, leading to misery, just like a red trap work. Second question: how was the peddler treated at the crofter's cottage? The answer is he was treated with unusual kindness and hospitality. The crofter welcomed him, gave him supper, shared his tobacco, and played card with him, and treated him as a friend. Question 4: why was the crofter so talkative and friendly? The crofter was an old man who was lonely. As he lived alone, he was glad to have someone to talk to and share his confidences with. That is why the crofter was talkative and friendly. Question 4: why did Peller knock on the door of the crofter's cottage? So the answer is he was seeking shelter for the night to stay, because he had been tr- treading along the road for very long time, and he was homeless wanderer. He didn't have any home to be stay in. Question 5: why did the peddler not tell the iron master that he was not Niels Ulf? The ironmaster had mistaken him for his old comrade and offered him an invitation. He wanted that this fellow should spend his Christmas day or evening with him at his home. What the peddler was thinking differently. He was thinking that if the ironmaster misjudged him as a old comrade, that he might get a few kroners, like money, out of him. Why playing along with the mistake? Question 6: why did Adla still entertaining the peddler even after she knew truth? You have to answer why after discovering his reality, why Adla, the daughter of the Iron Master, was taking side of him. The answer is she noticed that he was a frightened and a miserable tramp and upheld her promise of Christmas cheer. She was compassionate and non judgmental, believing he deserved peace for at least one day. Question 7. What did the peddler leave for Allah will mention? The answer is he left a small rat trap as a Christmas present. Inside the rat trap, and there was also the 30 kroner stolen notes which he stole from the house of Proctor, and a letter signed as a Captain Von Stale. Question 8. How did the peddler meet the Iron Master? When one day the Iron Master, the day when he was staying in the forge, the Master was on his daily routine, and it was the time of his routine to the forge. And when he entered, he saw that a peddler was sleeping in Ramasso iron mill, where he had sought shelter. The Iron Master, on his nightly inspection, saw the tramp and mistook him for his regimental comrade, Captain Bonestale. Question 9. How was the peddler different from the corrupter, the Iron Master and his daughter? Okay, the answer is the peddler was a cynical, opportunist thief. Why I say that he was an opportunist thief? Just because he was a kind of person who always seek opportunity for performing thievery. That that is why you can say the peddler was a cynical and opportunistic thief. The crofter was generous and trusting. The Iron Master was judgmental and haughty. Adla was only one who showed unconditional compensation and empathy, which led to his redemption. Next question. Give an example of situation when the peddler uses the metaphor of retrieve. Okay, you remember, dear students, when the Iron Master threatened to call the sheriff, the peddler said, "The war is wicked rat trap, and you too might get caught in it if you were not careful," warning the Iron Master that his own greed or pride could trap him. And this is the perfect example of metaphor. Question 11. How did the peddler betray the confidence reposed in him by the crofter? The answer is the crofter was open and showed him the money hiding place. The peddler repaid this trust by smashing the window pane and stealing the 30 kroner while the crofter was away. Because the crofter was never expected that this fellow, whom he was giving shelter, might be a thief and might rob his money too. Okay, question 12. Why did the peddler sign himself as Captain Von Stell? The answer is he signed it because Adla's kindness and respect had enabled him to change. While testing him like a real captain, she had awakened his conscience and helped him raise to his best. True self, the ideal that the captain represented. Question 13. Describe the change that comes over the peddler after his interaction with the Iron Master's daughter. The answer is he transforms from a thief and a cynical opportunist into an honest, redeemed human being. Adla's love, acceptance act as the final powerful escape from the physical and metaphorical red trap of his life. Question 14. The story, The Red Trap, focuses on human loneliness and the need to bond with others. Explain. The answer is the peddler is a lonely and cynical. The crofter is lonely and trusting, overly trusting. The story proves the loneliness breeds negativity, while the one of compensation, which was offered by Edla, is the only force strong enough to restore a person's humanity, showing the universal need for human connections. Now, let me come to the next chapter, which is Indigo by Louis Fisher. And the question number first is, how did Rajkumar Shukla realize that he was resolute? You know, dear student, that Rajkumar Shukla was illiterate, but he was determined. He followed Gandhiji for weeks from one place to another until Gandhi was agreed to come with him. He was constantly begging him to come to his district, and finally he was able to convince Gandhi. So you can say that Rajkumar Shukla was resolute. Question second, how was Gandhiji treated at Rajendra Prasad's house? Okay, so the answer is he was treated with courtesy. What his assistant, a man, was treated as an untouchable because they suspected that he was a peasant. He was not allowed to draw water from the well, lest his contaminate the entire source. Gandhiji was also mistook as another, you know, untouchable there. Okay. Question third. What did the peasants say? What did the peasants pay? What did the British now want? And what would be the impact? Okay. The question is, what did the peasants pay? So the answer is, as a rent, the peasants used to cultivate or cultivated 15% of their holding with indigo and surrender the harvest. Question, what did British now want? So the British wanted the compensation to release them from the contract because Germany had developed synthetic indigo, which was cheaper than the indigo grow in India. And impacts, if I talk over the impacts, then the synthetic indigo made the growing of natural indigo unprofitable. Question 4, why did Gandhiji decided to go to Muzaffarpur before going to Champaran? Okay, so Gandhi decided that first of all he would visit Muzaffarpur just because he want to gather complete and reliable information about the sharecroppers. Because while staying in Muzaffarpur, he might collect the complete details and informations about sharecroppers condition and the nature of the dispute before commencing his action in Champaran. Why did Gandhiji feel that taking the Champaran case to court was useless? Gandhi, when reached to Muzaffarpur, and then to Champaran, he had a brief meeting with the lawyers. And according to Gandhi, as he believed that where the peasants were so crushed and fear stricken, going to court was futile. The real relief was to make them free from fear through direct action and non-violence protest. Question 6. How did the Champaran peasants react when they heard that a Mahatma had come to help them? Answer. Thousands of them turned up spontaneously in Motihari. Their mass sport and demonstration were the beginning of their liberation from the fear of British. Question 7. What made the Lieutenant Governor drop the case against Gandhiji? Answer. The massive, spontaneous demonstration of thousands of peasants who supported Gandhi, coupled with Gandhi's quiet defiance, refusal, I mean to say, a refusal to furnish bail, and acceptance of penalty convinced the British official of his overwhelming moral authority and mass waking. Question 8. What was the conflict described by Gandhiji in the court? The answer: in court, he described the conflict of duties. He had a duty to obey the law. What a higher duty to render humanitarian and national service to the thousands of peasants. He chose the higher duty. Why did Gandhi say the Battle of Champaran won? Very most important question. He said that this when the em- eminent lawyers agreed to follow him to jail if he was arrested. This willingness of the educated elite to sacrifice for peasants meant that the case of freedom and courage had triumphed over the fear of British. Next question. The event in the part of text illustrate Gandhiji's method of working. Can you identify some instances of the method of this method? Okay, here we have some instances like examples which include fact finding. For finding the fact, Gandhiji decided to go to Muzaffarpur first, as I have mentioned earlier. Second, civil disobedience, as Gandhiji defying the order to leave, but in non-violent manner, and willing mass public support. This is linked to satyagraha and non-violence, which relied on moral authorities to challenge injustice. Question 11. How did Gandhi and the lawyers try to secure justice for the sharecroppers? The answer is they collected depositions and evidences from about 10,000 peasants, which was an overwhelming mass of evidences that forced the official inquiry commission to find the landlords guilty and agree to refund. Question 12. Why did Gandhi agree to settlement of 25% refund to the farmers? The answer is Gandhi considered the amount less important than the psychological victory. The fact that the landlords were forced to surrender money and prestige was a huge moral blow to them, thus breaking the peasants' fear. Question 13. How did the episode change the plight of peasants? The answer: it taught them courage and awareness of their rights, ending their fear of British landlords. Within a few years, the British planters abandoned their estates and the sharecropping system vanished in Champaran. Question 14. Why did you think Gandhi considered the Champaran episode to be a turning point in his life? Okay, Gandhi considered the Champaran episode to be the turning point in his life because it was the first successful large scale civil disobedience in India. It proved that his method of satyagraha had and mass non-violent action were effective and could secure justice for the common man against the British Raj. Question 15. How was Gandhi able to influence lawyers? Give instances. Okay, Gandhiji influenced them through his selfishness and ability to lead by example. When he was prepared to go to jail, the lawyers realized that hypocrisy of advising him but not joining him. This inspired them to declare their willingness to follow him, thus become self-reliant. Question 16. While at Champaran, how did Gandhi keep a long distance watch on his ashram? The answer is, my dear students, when Gandhiji was in Champaran, he kept one eye. He kept a long distance watch on ashram also. He used to send regular instruction by mail to the ashram, ask for financial accounts, and writing to the residents about the need for social and moral support. Next question. Why was Gandhi opposed to CF and U helping him in Champaran? Okay, one of the British officer like CF and you want to help Gandhiji in this you know Champaran episode. What Gandhiji denied, he said that relying on an Englishman like Andrew for support would be a sign of weakness. He wanted Indians to become self reliant and fight their own battles, ensuring the victory was full, fully their own. Question 18. What was the attitude of average Indians in similar localities toward advocates of home rules? Okay, the average Indian was usually afraid to show open sympathy or support for the advocates of home rules, as Mahatma Gandhiji was advocating the home rules in the freedom movement. Due to that pro- pervasive fear of British authorities. How do we know that ordinary people too contributed to the freedom movement? The answer is the entire movement was initiated by an ordinary peasant named Rajkumar Sukla. Furthermore, the spontaneous turnout of thousands of peasants at the Motihari courthouse and the involvement of local women in a rural upliftment showed mass contribution. Next, how did Gandhi work for rural uplift during his stay in Champaran? So the answer is Mahatma Gandhi arranged for six volunteer teachers to teach the children. His wife, Kasturbai, taught the villagers about personal cleanliness and community sanitation. A doctor also volunteered for 6 months to improve the health condition. Let me come to the next topic, which is Poet and Pancake by Asoka Mitran. And the question number first is, what does the writer mean by the fairy misery? What was the fairy misery according to the writer? The answer is it refers to the intense discomfort and heat generated by numerous overhead incandescent incandescent lights used in the making up room, which caused great suffering to those being made up. Question second, what is the example of national integration that the author refers to? Here the author refers to the makeup department itself because the makeup department at Gemini Studio consisted of people from various regions and communities of India. It was headed by a Bengali or a Maharashtrian. There was a member from Andhra, a Madras Christian, and Anglo-Burmese and some local Tamils. That is why the author called it national integration. Why did everybody in studio think of giving the author some work to do? Actually, as you know that the author was given a work for collecting the cuttings of newspapers. So whoever look at him always thought that he's a person who didn't have any work. That is why the author was supposed to be given some work. Let me come to the answer. The author Asoka Mitran sat in a small cubicle cutting out newspaper clippings, giving him the appearance of being perpetually unoccupied and idle in a place where everybody else seemed very busy. Question 4. Why did the boy come to the author? Why was the author praying? The boy, mean to say the office boy, came to the author to vent his frustration and speak about his troubles and failed literary ambitions. Viewing the author as a sympathetic listener, the author prayed for crowd shooting to avoid the voice long, rambling monologues. Just because on the day of crowd shooting, it was his duty for applying makeup to the crowd. Question 5. Why was the office boy disappointed with his job? The answer is he was an aspiring writer poet who had joined the studio with the dream of becoming a star actor, screenwriter, or director. He felt his talents were wasted on the manual job of applying makeup to the crowd players. Okay, so here is the next question. Who was Subbu enemy and why? Okay, so the answer is simple enough. The office boy in the makeup department considered Subbu his enemy. He was bitterly jealous of Subbu's success, charm, and ability to be resourceful, which had elevated him to the number two position while the boy remained stuck in a manual role. Question 7. Why was the moral rearmament army welcomed? Do you know what is MRA? MRA is a group of some 200 people from 20 different countries who once visited Gemini studio. Another question is why they were welcomed. The Moral Rearmament Army, an international team, was welcomed because their plays strong anti-communist messages aligned with the political leanings of the studio boss, who sought a counter to the growing influence of communism. Simply, you can say that the boss of the Gemini studio doesn't blame in communism and he wants to counter the growing influence of communism. How did the makeup department use the pancake? First of all, you have to understand pancake is a kind of makeup material. Pancake was the name of brand of makeup that was usually used heavily and literally plastered onto the faces of actors to make them look presentable for the camera. Question 9. What work did the office boy do? As I mentioned, that the office boy used to apply makeup to the crowd players and assist the chief makeup man. Question 10. How did Subbu manage to be the number 2? The answer is Subbu was indispensable due to the resourcefulness, loyalty to the boss, charming nature, and extreme helpfulness. He could come up with a creative solution for any problem, making him the most valuable asset after the boss. Question 11. Describe Subbu as a writer or a poet. Subbu was a talented, prolific, and successful poet who composed folk epic and wrote a widely successful novel. He possessed versatility and wrote for the message which pleased the boss. Question 12. Humor and satire are used effectively in Poet and Pancake. Discuss. Humor is found in the accurate description of the makeup process and the absurdity of the office boy's long monologues. Satire is used to mock the strict studio hierarchy, the pervasive psychophancy, and the superficiality of film industry creative process. Write a brief character sketch of Subbu, dear students. Subbu was a man of many talents. He was a poet, actor, and writer. What was primarily defined by his loyalty and sycophancy toward the boss. He was relent- relentlessly cheerful, extremely hopeful, and indispensable. He secured his number two position in makeup department. That is all for today. Still two chapters are remaining. The interview and going places, then the poems on which we will be talking in the next video. Until take care of you and best wishes for your examination. Thank you.